Think about the most normal day you can imagine. You wake up, do the routine, follow the rules, say the right things in the right tone, and try not to stand out in ways that could cost you. Now here's the question. How much of that is actually you, and how much is you trying to survive society's expectations? Today we're digging into a provocative idea. Society can feel like a prison, but subgroups can feel like freedom.
I like that you said feel like, because it's not always literal bars, right? It's more like invisible walls. The kind that tell you what success looks like, what's acceptable, what's embarrassing, what you're supposed to want. And if you don't want those things, you start to feel like you're doing life wrong.
Exactly. And to be clear, we're not saying society is purely bad. Society gives us roads, shared language, cooperation, a baseline of safety in many places. But it also sets a default setting for people. And if you don't match the default, you feel pressure. You feel watched. You feel managed.
It's that default setting that gets people. Like an unspoken dress code for your personality. The prison is the role you're assigned before anyone even meets you. Student, employee, parent, responsible adult. And then you're like, wait, where's the manual for being myself?
So let's define the prison part carefully. What makes society feel like a prison? I think it's a mix of constant evaluation and limited lanes. There's always a scoreboard. How productive are you? How attractive are you? How stable are you? How impressive are you? And then there are these rigid lanes: education lane, career lane, relationship lane, status lane.
And if you step out of the lanes, it's not always punishment like a fine or jail. It's softer, but it's real. People look at you differently. You get fewer opportunities. You get labeled. That's one of the most powerful tools society has. Labeling. Once you're lazy, weird, difficult, unstable, people stop listening to your full story.
Yes. And labeling is efficient. Society needs efficiency because it's huge. But efficiency can be cruel. It can flatten a human being into a category. And when you're flattened, you're easier to control.
So then subgroups come in. The freedom happens when you find a smaller circle that runs on different rules. Or maybe the same rules, but with more nuance and more humanity. Whether it's a hobby community, a cultural community, a creative scene, a sports team, a faith community, a political group, or even an online niche where people finally get you.
Here's what's fascinating. Subgroups don't remove all rules. They replace rules. And the replacement can feel like liberation because the rules finally fit who you are. Or they reward the parts of you that the broader culture ignores.
Like if mainstream society rewards being loud and confident, but your subgroup rewards being thoughtful and precise. Or society tells you your interest is pointless, but your subgroup treats it like an art form. Suddenly you're not too much or not enough. You're just normal, and that's freedom.
There's also the safety factor. In a big society, being misunderstood is common. In a subgroup, being understood is more likely. And being understood reduces the need to perform. You don't have to translate yourself constantly.
That translation fatigue is real. When you have to explain your humor, your values, your boundaries, your interests, your identity, over and over, you start to shrink. In the wrong environment, your personality becomes survival strategy.
Let's make it concrete. Imagine someone who's obsessed with building things, electronics, woodworking, robotics. In the broad social world, people might say, cool, but they don't really care. Or they might say, is that going to make you money? But in a makerspace community, that person is surrounded by others who speak the same language. They trade ideas. They share tools. They respect the obsession.
And the respect matters. Because respect is oxygen. In the prison environment, respect is conditional. You get it if you play the game. In the subgroup, respect can be based on contribution, curiosity, authenticity, skill, or even just shared love of the thing.
But I want to challenge one part of our own idea. Are subgroups always free? Because subgroups can be liberating, but they can also become their own prisons.
Absolutely. The same mechanism that creates belonging can create conformity. A subgroup can start as a refuge and then turn into a gatekeeping machine. Like, you're only one of us if you talk like we talk, hate what we hate, and never question the leaders.
So maybe the real freedom isn't join any subgroup. It's find or build communities that allow more of you to exist. That's different. It's not just shrinking the world. It's changing the conditions.
Yes, and I think the healthiest subgroups have a few signs. They let you disagree without exile. They don't punish curiosity. They don't demand constant proof of loyalty. And they don't treat outsiders like enemies by default.
Let's talk about why society ends up feeling like a prison in the first place. One reason is scale. When something gets big, it needs standardization. Standardization is how you handle millions of people. But the cost of standardization is individuality.
And another reason is fear. Big systems run on predictability, and predictability often comes from control. Schools, workplaces, institutions, they prefer people they can predict. The unpredictable person can be creative, but they can also disrupt the system. So the system pressures everyone toward the predictable.
That pressure shows up as be professional, be realistic, don't overreact, don't make it weird. Those phrases can be useful sometimes, but they can also be used to shut down emotion, difference, or truth.
Which brings us to the personal question listeners might be asking. Okay, if society is a big machine and subgroups are pockets of air, how do I actually find freedom in my real life?
I'd start with one simple inventory. Where do you consistently feel smaller? Not just tired, smaller. Where do you edit yourself the most? Where do you feel like you're auditioning for acceptance? That's a clue that you're living under someone else's rules.
And then, where you feel more like yourself without trying. It might be with one friend, a specific group chat, a class, a volunteer group, a fandom community, a sport, a local meetup. Freedom doesn't always arrive as a big dramatic escape. Sometimes it's a Tuesday night where you realize you're laughing differently, breathing differently.
Another practical step is to stop searching for the perfect community and start searching for a good enough doorway. People get stuck because they want instant belonging. But belonging is built. It's common interests first, trust later.
And you can test a subgroup gently. Join for a month. Observe how they treat newbies. Notice whether people seem relaxed or tense. Pay attention to whether the group encourages growth or just rewards status.
Let's also name the risk. When you find a subgroup that feels like freedom, you might want to disappear into it. That can be healing for a while, but you don't want your whole identity to become one room.
Right, because then you're trading one prison for another. Real freedom includes the ability to move between rooms, to have more than one community, to have a private self that doesn't belong to any crowd.
I love that. A private self is underrated. Society pressures us to be legible and explainable. But you're allowed to be complex. You're allowed to have interests that don't turn into a brand. You're allowed to outgrow communities too.
So maybe the big takeaway is this. Society gives you broad rules to keep the system running, and that can feel like confinement. Subgroups give you narrower rules that can fit you better, and that can feel like freedom. But your job is to choose communities consciously, not just reactively.
And if you feel trapped right now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're broken. It might mean you're in the wrong environment. The same person can look like a problem in one setting and like a gift in another.
That's the hopeful part. You're not stuck with a version of you that survives the prison. There's also the version of you that exists when you're understood, supported, and challenged in the right way.
So here's a question to sit with after this episode. Where are you performing, and where are you participating? Performance is compliance. Participation is life. And if you can increase participation, even by 10%, you'll feel the bars loosen.
And one more. What's one small community you could try this week? Not because you need to reinvent your life overnight, but because freedom often starts with contact, a message, a meetup, a workshop, a shared interest.
Society might be the big structure we can't fully escape, but we can build pockets of meaning inside it. And sometimes those pockets, those subgroups, are where we finally remember what it feels like to be human.
That's the episode. Wherever you are, I hope you find your people, and I hope your people help you become more you, not less.